Evening, everyone in India, and good morning to everyone who have joined in from the United States of America. This is our first webinar at the Global Links Impact Investment Forum, and I assure you, would want to come back to more of these events, be it a webinar or any of the events that Global Links Impact Investment Forum brings before you. Before starting today's webinar, I'd make a mandatory request to all attendees to mute themselves. And today's webinar is presented by Dr. Mary Conway Datuan. I'd just take a moment to introduce Dr. Mary Conway Datuan to you. She's a Fulbright scholar and a George D. Harriet Cornell Chaired Professor of International Business and Social Entrepreneurship at Crummer Graduate School of Business, Rollins College, Florida in USA. As the inaugural faculty director for Rollins College Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship Hub, Dr. Conway served as a change leader for the Ashoka U Changemaker designation. She received a Fulbright scholarship to study social entrepreneurship in Mexico, which resulted in the publication of a book, Shaping Social Entrepreneurship in Mexico, to augment her strong publication record. As far as Global Links is concerned, she was part of the core team that developed the Global Links program, for which she serves as the faculty director. Dr. Conway has led several rounds of Global Links program in Iran, India, and Brazil. Continuing the Global Links mission in India, she has been part of the Global Links Alumni Connect and is now a part of the Global Links Impact Investment Forum. In fact, she is the knowledge guide of this forum. Besides that, Dr. Conway has actively engaged with Indian community and traveled to various parts of India. Additionally, she is actively involved in local and international community to advance and disseminate knowledge on social entrepreneurship, marketing, and cross-cultural marketing. Personally, I would say she's a great mentor for students and peer and professor with whom students can also enjoy. We will have some questions as you think about in the chat box. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, because towards the end of our session, we will try to answer your questions. Additionally, a group photo will be taken at the end. So if you wish, you can switch off your video just now. And towards the end, you will be given an announcement to switch on your video so that we can take a group photo. With that, I hand over to Dr. Conway. Dr. Conway, please.
Excellent. Thank you, Professor Banerjee. It is so great to see some familiar names out there, and it's wonderful to welcome those who have not really connected with Global Links before. I also want to note that we're live on Facebook, so I want to say hello to anyone who might be watching us on Facebook. And I'm going to ask Sanchari or Olivia to be sure to post our Facebook page name and the Facebook, the website for GLIIF in the, in the chat box, so that if folks want to follow us later, they're able to do that. So first of all, I want to say I'm honored to be the first person to kick off this webinar series, but I also see one of our great scholars, Dr. Rumpa Chakraborty, and someone who has been involved with the program as a program manager since the beginning, Abira Roy, online with us. So we'll be hearing from them next. So as Professor Banerjee said, please stay tuned. Those of you who know me, you know it's going to be a struggle for me to just talk for 20 minutes. So Selena Danvers is on the line. She's going to keep me, as our graduate assistant here on the stage, she's going to keep me accountable to the time, because I get very excited about this work and I frankly lose track of time. So Selena, be sure to keep me honest, okay? So let's get started. And what I want to talk to you about if my slides would cooperate, which they're clearly not going to, because that's how it is. Here's our agenda. So I want to talk a little bit first about what drives entrepreneurship, and I'm going to particularly look at India and the the GEM studies, or the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor studies. Then I'll talk a little bit about what is a network, how we strengthen the network, especially relative to the work that we do at the Global Links and Global Links Initiative. And then, because I'm a professor, I'm going to give you some homework. And the other thing I want to note and call attention to on this slide is down in the left-hand corner, you'll see 4 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And those are the goals that we in the Global Links Initiative work toward achieving. So if you're not familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I would like to suggest that you check out their website and educate yourself a little bit more. But as you know, come to know more about Global Links and the GLIIF, you'll see that one of the cornerstones is quality education, clearly gender equity and equality, because we work with female entrepreneurs, decent work and economic growth, because we are in the entrepreneurship space. And then none of this work happens alone. So there's networks, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, cooperate. Here we go. So I mentioned that I'm going to talk about this particularly in the Indian context. So Dr. Banerjee mentioned that we have been working, this is our 10th year anniversary at the Global Links Initiative. And let's see, we came into India in 2015. Okay, so we started in Iraq, India, and now we're in Brazil, and our next market throughout the Latin American region will be Mexico. So here's just a little bit of statistics to try to put in context what is entrepreneurship in India. And again, a resource that's really good for us to study is the GEM Global Reports, the Entrepreneurship Monitor reports. So you see that if you look at India as a whole, as an economy, and then we look at Indian entrepreneurship, we actually see a little bit different rankings that's happening. So this is not an economics discussion, so I'm going to kind of go quickly to the next slide. There we go, maybe not so quickly, which looks at the National Entrepreneurship Context Index. Okay, so what this says is when we look at across different nations, there's actually 50 nations that are studied in the GEM report. And through a compilation of different items that we'll talk about in a second, then it ranks all of the countries in those 50 studies. And you can see here, India, which I've circled in our lovely Global Links pink, that it ranks really high, with the highest score being Switzerland. So it says, what is a context that promotes and supports entrepreneurship in the country, right? Switzerland ranks at number 1 at 605, and India is right there at 5.8, and is in fact higher than the United States. So I think for some of you that might be a new or interesting fact to know, how high India ranks in its attitudes toward promotion of entrepreneurship. But of course, every ranking comes with a caveat. So let's talk a little bit about how we get to this context, like what goes into it, and how a network contributes to improving the index, but more importantly, the environment for entrepreneurship. Okay. So what goes into that framework, right? We call these framework conditions, and you see there are 9 of them here, okay? What I've highlighted in pink, so number 4, which is the entrepreneurship education, both at school and post-school. By post-school, so if I look at EDII, right, with Gautam is here with us, and we say once folks have graduated, or maybe they didn't even go to college or university, and they're actually engaging in entrepreneurship, we think post-school training, right? So that's very important in building a network and conditions that promote entrepreneurship. Number 7, so this is listed kind of in prioritized order, but we look at number 7, market dynamics, and number 8, physical infrastructure. Those are very important, And those are some areas that India is lagging behind in terms of its ranking. But I want to focus on what you see in pink. So number 4, the education, and number 9, the social and cultural norms. Why do I want to focus on those? Because if we come to look at Global Links, right, and the work that we do in Global Links, these are the areas that we focus on, and these are the areas that we contribute strongest to in terms of the network. So let's go down a little bit deeper and let's look at some of the motivation for engaging in entrepreneurship. So why do folks become entrepreneurs, if you will? And there's something here that I really want to point out, right? To make a difference. India ranks #1 of all 50 countries, right? Male and female. So the females are at 88%. TEA is not tea to drink, unfortunately, but it looks at the active entrepreneurship activity, total entrepreneurship activity. 88, almost 89% of women say that they became or want to become entrepreneurs to make a difference in their community, to make a difference in their society, to make a difference in the world. #1 rank, right? India has. That aligns so well with what we do at Global Links because we look at entrepreneurship with social and environmental impact. So we're looking not only at the creation of economic wealth, but also at the creation and sustenance of our communities and our earth, if you will. So, and you see, build great wealth is still there. So we're not saying that finances don't matter, right? But we're saying that to make a difference is really what drives Indian entrepreneurs. And it aligns really well with what we do at Global Links. The second thing I want to look at is sort of this attitude and perception. So I remember we said education, that's what we do at Global Links, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, the contributions to the network. And here's that social and cultural norms, attitudes and perceptions. So what are the survey asks, like, what do you need to do or need to have in terms of skills to be an entrepreneur in India? And what are your attitudes or perceptions about entrepreneurship? So what's interesting here, right, is how important it is to know someone else who has started a new business, right? That influences. So coming in contact with people who are already entrepreneurs greatly improves one's attitude toward thinking that they themselves can be an entrepreneur, or what we call self-efficacy, right? Then we have good opportunities. That goes back to the market dynamics and some of the support we get from EDII and the government in terms of that. Do people think it's easy to start a business, right? 80% of the adults surveyed in India said yes, they think it's easy to do it. Do I have the personal skills? This is really amazing. 85%, right, say that they think they have the personal skills to start a business, which again ranks #1 of the 50 countries that were surveyed. So Indians have that self-efficacy that says, yes, I think I can do it. Yes, the education system in India has empowered me to do it, whether the formal education or informal education. But look at the next line, fear of failure, or alternatively stated, lack of opportunity, also ranks #1 in India, right? So that means, yes, I think I can do it, but I'm afraid if I do it, I might fail. And what is the cost of that failure? The social cost, the financial cost, right? The shame that I might bring to my family if I happen to fail. So that is a really unique combination in India that provides an opportunity for us and the work that we do at Global Links, right? So I'm just highlighting those because I think that those points are really important because it opens a door for opportunity. So then what is the network, right? Or what is Global Links? So this is a way to look at our ecosystem. It's another word I like to say. In the top right, you see what are the activities that we do? We do networking. Remember we said what drives people to engage in entrepreneurship? It's meeting other entrepreneurs. So that's why it's important to network both formally and informally with that community. We provide education and expert advice. So we're working through the universities, right? Our network partners through the universities to provide education both for students while they're in school, but then training and expert advice, connecting with folks like EDII and other chambers of commerce to get that education and expert advice out into the market. And then we mentor businesses. And when I say we, I'm misnaming because I don't mean me. You see in the next two circles, who's doing the mentoring or the hand holding or the connecting of their formal education to the entrepreneurship's work are the students. So those two circles represent really the heart of what we do. We connect students with female entrepreneurs in the field so that they're mutually teaching each other about what the students are bringing from their books and what the entrepreneurs are experiencing in the real world. And we ask the students to formulate a plan together with the entrepreneur to help create or to help grow that female entrepreneur's business. And remember, I mentioned the sustainable goal number 17, right? We don't do this by ourselves. In other words, this is where the network partners come in. So the private funders, Global Links primary funding comes from the Rick and Susan Goings Foundation, the Global Links Initiative funding in total, then funding also from government, so the United States Department of State, and particularly the Calcutta Consulate, who has been unbelievably supportive and is the financial supporter of GLIIF, of course, the universities. So represented here today, we see the University of Calcutta, Sri Shikshan College out of Calcutta, Crummer Graduate School of Business in Winter Park, Florida, where I'm coming from, and then also the University of Nebraska works with us on another program that we're operating in Calcutta right now. Economic Development Institute, I've mentioned a few times, a lot of the expert advice, a lot of the networking and connections. And of course, this is called the Global Links Impact Investment Forum. So we're looking to connect strongly the impact investors with these students so that students understand what impact investing means, and with the female entrepreneurs so that they have opportunities to understand what do investors look for when they're making investment decisions. So this is the network. What do we do, right? What should a network do? These are the 4 activities. First of all, connect, again, re-emphasizing that networking. The second is to understand. And by that, I mean to understand the needs of the entrepreneurs, particularly the female entrepreneurs, to understand the context of entrepreneurship in India, which we went through earlier, and to do research, right? So we've got a couple of professors on the line, and that is really our currency, right? So to do the research so that we more deeply understand and we can start to predict and project and suggest what is missing or what gaps are there. The third, of course, is to support that. So creating an environment or that network that connects the impact investors helps the female entrepreneurs to understand what those impact investors are looking for and to offer both of them support. And of course, a lot of that support comes from the students. So the beauty of Global Links, from my perspective, is that the students and the energy and the power that the students have comes in, and that's who does, frankly, the bulk of the work in the field. Okay, and then of course we celebrate. So we might have some of our entrepreneurs on the line with us, but we often celebrate to congratulate the students. So Sanchari and sorry, I've lost. Oh, I was looking for our other Shomita, right? So it's our Global Links volunteers, Sanchari, and oh my gosh, Surbi, sorry, Surbi, took a second there. And Surbi are our change makers, so we celebrate. They receive actually different accolades, and the same for our entrepreneurs. So just celebrating the work that we do. How particularly do we do that in Global Links, right? We connect with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we help to create and grow female-owned businesses with the potential for social and environmental impact, connecting back to the #1 reason why people in India become involved in entrepreneurship. All right. So actually, I think, as I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, and then we'll go to Q&A. Oh, Shomita just came on. Hi, Shomita. So strengthening the network, right? How do we do that? Students, you do that by getting involved, right? So apply to GLIIF. I think that Olivia or someone has posted that link in there, how you connect through our website to do that. Entrepreneurs, apply to GLIIF, right? This only works if we actually have people coming to the forum to help. Professors, we have a few professors online. Please encourage your students to get engaged. And I challenge you self to get out of the building. And by that, I mean, think about your lessons in a way that are engaging with the community, and to be sure that you yourself understand the needs of entrepreneurs, so your book teaching is enlightened with some community-based information. And of course, impact investors, consider investing, right? How do businesses grow? Yes, they can grow organically and generate their own revenues and resources that they then reinvest. But often new businesses, small and micro businesses, need the investment from impact investors to move them forward and to help that next stage of growth. So this is my homework to you. Help us to strengthen the network by taking these very specific actions. So my hope is, through this conversation, right, we started to think about some ideas, and I think that now we can take some questions. And I think Olivia has sent me a question. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, Sanchari, is I'm going to stop sharing for a moment so that we can see folks' faces. Would that be all right?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
All right, so let me stop sharing here. We'll come back to that in a moment. And let's see. I've got some, number one question that came to me is one networking skill tip for students. I'm going to give you two for the price of one. I'm going to give you two tips about that. The number one, remember that we said, I think I have the skills, but I have that fear of failure. And the fear of failure keeps us from getting involved. So my number one tip is take the risk. Entrepreneurship is about risk and innovation. So take the risk. And the way you take that risk is to become involved. So that's your first risk. So tip number one. Tip number two, two for the price of one. Once you show up in the room, the verbiage that I use with my students is have a bias toward action. So, they say showing up is 50%, but your students, that 50% is probably still failing. So showing up is 50%, but reaching out to someone in the room, that's the other 40 to 50%, right? I say 40% because we need to build some skills around how to reach out to someone in the room. But I often see students who show up in the room, never let go of the shoulder or the hand of their girlfriend or boyfriend or whomever they came there with. And so they miss the opportunity. So take the risk to attend, and then take the second risk to actually engage with someone in the room, right? That's my big tip for networking. The second question is, why should one prefer being an entrepreneur over other opportunities? Let me repeat the question. Why should one prefer being an entrepreneur over other opportunities? Well, first, I would say that's a personal decision. So there are, for those of you who know professors, you know that professors are generally not risk takers, right? So you have to decide your own personal risk profile, right? So I would say, if you are able to be an entrepreneur, it gives you the control and the freedom to make decisions for yourself and move forward. It also gives you the freedom and control as you grow to bring others onto the growth journey with you. But if that is too much of a risk profile for you, what I would encourage you to become is an intrapreneur. So INTRA, intrapreneur. So I would use myself as an example of that, right? I am a professor, but I think of myself as an educational entrepreneur or an edupreneur. So I work within the context of an organization. However, I very strategically have thought about what organization I want to affiliate myself with, because they, Crummer Graduate School of Business, values the risk taking and the entrepreneurship. They empower me to start programs like Global Links. They enable me to do that. So my risk profile isn't so much that I'm ready to go completely out on my own and start a consultancy in entrepreneurship or something crazy like that, but I can work within an organization to be an intrapreneur, right? Remember, entrepreneurship is innovation plus risk. And we often think of entrepreneurs generally do not care about the resources. They're not worried, not care is too strong of a word. They're not worried or overly preoccupied with where the resources are going to come from, because they have belief in their idea, their innovation, their network. And so they go forward with that. So that's why that would be my answer of why should one prefer being an entrepreneur. One is that control, right? That ability to grow at their own desired pace. And if that is not quite you yet, then consider being an intrapreneur. And so students, when you go out and you're thinking about interviewing for businesses, right, who I want to work with, ask them, do you encourage me to take risk within your organization? Am I allowed to bring new ideas forward? Because if not, is that really where you want to work? Olivia, any other questions for me?
No, Professor, thank you for such an enchanting talk on how networks have been doing wonders for the entrepreneurs and how Global Links has been doing that for years now. So I'm sure with such a lot of homework at hand, if we are able to do that diligently, we'll be able to take these learnings outside the virtual room. So let's meet over such sessions and take this GLIIF opportunity forward. So one such session is on 22nd of January by Dr. Rumpa Chakraborty and Ms. Abira Roy. We'll soon be sending you invites over email. So thank you for being such wonderful participants. Hope to meet you soon on 22nd at 6 p.m. Thank you,
Great.
guys.
We would just request everybody to, if they could kindly switch on their camera so that we can take a quick snapshot.
Yes, and I will stop sharing the screen so we can do that. But I did want to be sure you saw that for January 22nd.
Thank you.
We, Sanchari, we also like to remind folks, because we are live on Facebook as well, if you do not want your name and your photo on the picture, now is a good time to change your name while you're bringing yourself onto the video as well.
Right.
And
if
any of the
anybody
students,
wants to.
yeah, any of the students who were in the chain of change, we reviewed how to do that. So be sure to teach each other.
So if everybody is ready, then I would be taking a snapshot. Okay.
Oh, Dr. Simsak, can you bring yourself online? We'd love to see you. There he is.
So
Dr. Simsak is one of our knowledge partners as well. He just came online. He's another professor at the Crummer Graduate School of Business. So let's try it again, Sanchari, so we can get Dr.
yes,
Simsak.
ma'am, sure. So we have 3 pages in total. So we just request everybody to keep that constant smile on. Sorry. Okay, so one is done. You can relax. For the second page, please. Yes, for the third page. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. It was such a pleasure, and we look forward to more such interactive sessions every week or every fortnight.
All right. Thank you, everyone.